So the news this morning is about how Ghislaine Maxwell was supposed to testify in front of Congress, and she basically just pled the fifth and then was like, hey, Donald Trump, you want to do a little quid pro quo, right? You want to give me clemency and then I'll just exonerate you? Now, thankfully, there are a number of Democrats who are saying, no, we are not going to be deterred from getting justice. We are not going to let this drop. Donald Trump wants everybody to move on. We heard the FBI say that there's no PDF file ring. There's no trafficking ring. We're not going to investigate. We're not going to charge any of these men whose names we know and we have redacted while simultaneously releasing the names of victims. Right, re-traumatizing, re-victimizing victims, and then continuing to protect PDF files, because that's what the GOP is, the party of PDF file protectors. But a number of Democrats have said, like, no, we're not going to let this go. We're going to continue to pursue justice.
And the United States government is engaged in an active cover-up of the largest sex trafficking scandal and influence peddling scandal in the history of the United States, and Donald Trump is right at the center of it. And the person who is living to provide the evidence, who knows what is going on, is trying to invoke the fifth to buy her clemency.
The American people will see that there's an inconsistency. Why did she not plead the fifth when Blanche asked her questions? And now she's pleading the fifth about things that don't implicate her, but may implicate many of the other powerful people in the Epstein class that committed these crimes.
Now, Ghislaine Maxwell is the only person in prison for all of these heinous crimes. And we know that she wants out of prison. Donald Trump, he already has been really cozy with her, even though he says the Epstein Files are all a hoax, even though he wants everybody to move on, even though it's like nothing to see here and he's definitely not implicated. He moved Ghislaine Maxwell into a minimum security facility. And now she's saying, hey, Donald Trump, I will exonerate you personally if you just let me out of prison. I thought this was a particularly compelling point. Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney has gone public with her offer to clear Donald Trump in exchange for a pardon or clemency. So if Donald gives her one, that would be an admission that she has information about him that could lead to criminal convictions. Pretty stupid of the lawyer to say the quiet part out loud. Now, I know some people get frustrated watching all of this, saying, once again, justice is denied, or once again, the cover-up continues. Y'all, these are men who committed horrific crimes against women and children for years, for decades, and have managed to get away with it because they are wealthy, powerful, influential, and we don't even know how extensive this network of PDF files is. Did you really think that it was going to be easy to get justice? Did you really think that they were going to just like come in and say, yep, okay, lock me up, I did it? No, they're going to try and protect themselves. They're going to continue to engage in a cover-up, and that cannot be something that deters us. I really appreciated that Rep Crockett basically said the same thing today.
This took place today, and basically Ghislaine was like, I'm not going to participate, but we're not going to stop. You know, there were those that thought we would stop when we were able to get the discharge petition done. There were those that thought we were going to stop when it didn't seem like we had the votes once we finally got that done. I mean, the House Speaker shut the House down so that we would not go there, right? And now that they have violated the law, because this is actually in law, we are not stopping. So I want people to understand that House Democrats, we are going to be on their asses. Like, that's just the reality.
And what is your message to President Trump in that case?
Same thing. We're going to be on his ass. I mean, you know, it is so, I don't really know where we are in this country. Why are we even having this conversation? The United States is falling apart right now. Partially because he's going out and randomly allowing for the killings of people in the middle of the street. But the other part of it is that we have a 34-count convicted felon, and there are people that are still shielding him from any type of accountability as it relates to a child sex trafficking ring. It is time to take the blinders off. Like, I don't understand why we are pretending like any of this is normal. And I think that that is the level of frustration that so many people are bringing, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent, specifically to the Epstein Files situation. Because right now we know that they were willing to try to throw the Clintons in prison for not showing up, yet they won't even allow us to bring other people into committee who we know are mentioned in these files and mentioned so much more. When we went through the hearing as relates to the Clintons, I said, listen, we know that Donald Trump's name is mentioned more. Bring him in too. Like, I'm not saying that this should be partisan. This should be whoever. I want to be clear about that. This, for the Democrats, this isn't partisanship. This is about right versus wrong.
So often, members of Congress have some committee hearing, or Chuck Schumer writes a strongly worded letter, and there's this performance, right? Some performative gesture that never actually results in anybody getting justice or in any policy change or in any accountability. And here, I think what we heard from Rep Crockett and what we're hearing from a number of other Democrats, and also Thomas Massie, right? The lone Republican who is willing to stand on the side of justice in this instance consistently, right? When other Republicans are trying to shut him down. They have all said, no, we're not going to be content with anything less than blowing this wide open and full justice for Jeffrey Epstein's victims. Likewise, I appreciated Rep Crockett pointing out that, this is not normal. Republicans protecting child predators is not normal. This cover-up is not normal. This is not something we can allow Republicans to sweep under the rug, and I'm glad to hear Democrats taking a stand. And speaking of Democrats who are doggedly pursuing justice for Jeffrey Epstein's victims, I heard Rep Jamie Raskin say this earlier.
The point is that there is no way before Attorney General Bondi arrives on Wednesday that we're going to have the opportunity to go through every redaction in order to ask thorough questions.
Do you think that's the connection, that they held up releasing this so that everybody wouldn't be as thoroughly prepared for her testimony Wednesday?
No, I think that the Department of Justice has been in a cover-up mode for many months and has been trying to sweep the entire thing under the rug. And the more deeply that I get into it, because obviously our colleagues on the Oversight Committee have taken the lead, but judiciary plays a very important role because we oversee the Department of Justice. But the more that I've gotten into it, the more I believe that the survivors here, the victims who are now active citizens for justice, really are leading the way. And we need to be having hearings with the survivors to hear from them about their experiences so they can explain what happened and so they can begin to set forth a theory of what took place. We need to be investigating the money. We need to be investigating the organizational hierarchy. There's no way you run $1 billion international child sex trafficking ring with just two people committing crimes, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. No way. It doesn't work like that. So we need to figure out what other conspiracies were involved, what other co-conspirators were involved. And I really do believe that listening to the survivors is going to be our pathway through this nightmare.
I have the utmost respect for Rep Jamie Raskin. I feel like he is somebody who absolutely is committed to the rule of law. He's consistently on the right side of history and consistently pursuing justice. And speaking of listening to Jeffrey Epstein's victims and letting them lead the way, did y'all see their Super Bowl ad?
After years of being kept apart, we're standing together.
Standing together.
Because this girl deserves the truth.
Because she deserves the truth.
Because we all deserve the truth.